NFL players retire, and I'm talking about players of all kinds, all positions, all personalities, they should all get into the business of instructing social media. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of the other two teams in town that I cover, the Penguins and the Pirates, and I hope you'll check both of those out as well. TJ Watt posted a picture with no caption, no explanation, no additional clues on his Instagram account yesterday. And it is plain and simple, not doctored, not AI'd, him walking off the field in a road uniform, holding up a peace sign. Well, there went the internet, at least among the nation. What's he mean? No, TJ, don't leave us. Oh, no. But if you're tracking closely, and those of us in this line of work kind of have to do that, you'll know that this is the second such occasion, except that the other one was by Big Brother JJ, who used actual words for his in putting forth that, well, his little bro needs to get paid sooner rather than later. Now, if anybody isn't familiar with TJ's contract status, he does have one more year. When you're a player of that caliber in the NFL, you don't enter lame duck seasons. You get extended, and you get meaningfully extended in the offseason that precedes it. So what's this mean? Well, first off, I'm not wild about studying social media hints. To me, you could do that, and I could do every single episode about everybody attempting it. But this is TJ. And again, this is following JJ. Now, if you want to be one of those people who says, what are you talking about? He just put a picture up. It might be a picture that he liked. Okay, you're entitled to that. But I'm adding 1 and 1 and coming up with 2. And I'm also looking at the broader setting in which the Steelers continue to wait on you-know-who. There had been some speculation leading up to an arena event here in Pittsburgh last night involving ESPN host Pat McAfee, as Rodgers is often part of that program, paid to be part of that program, that maybe they would utilize this stage, and I mean stage literally in this case, to introduce Rodgers to a boisterous crowd of sports fans here. Didn't happen. If Rodgers was even in the building, there wasn't a single report suggesting that. Now, from my own perspective, I can't have it both ways. I can't tell you what I really, really want to tell you here, which is that don't worry about TJ. They're going to sign TJ. It's going to get done. If you'll remember how TJ's last contract got done, his agents played hardball. There was a hold in. Things got a little uncomfortable, and then one day, TJ goes walking right into Art Rooney's room at the Southside Complex, and the two of them sit there, and they hash it out like men. Look, you can believe the, beyond mythological version if you want to. But the bottom line was the bottom line, and they got it done. Why? Because TJ's a Steeler. TJ's a Steeler for life. There was a little bit of drama last summer, you'll recall, as it relates to Cam Hayward. And it was genuine. When I spoke with Cam one day, just me and him, in one of the end zones in Latrobe, and I'm like, Cam, what's going on? He goes, I don't know, DK, go ask them. And not necessarily in the friendliest of tones. And the next thing you know, a couple of weeks later, they're all applauding each other at a press conference, and Cam's a Steeler for life because, of course, he was going to be a Steeler for life. And TJ's a Steeler for life because, of course, he's going to be a Steeler for life. So I can say that. But what I can't do is put that forth and then point a figurative finger at Aaron Rodgers and say, you'll see, he's the problem. He's holding up TJ. If they sign Rodgers, then they're not going to be able to keep TJ, because I actually don't believe that. And as much as I'd like to be able to cast the Rodgers signing in yet another negative light, because I'm not in favor of it, I can't do it in this context. Not comfortably anyway. I just can't. Because I believe that by the time you would get to July and August, when these types of deals, the extensions, the long-term extensions, the Steeler for life type contracts get done, then Omar Khan will have had all this time to find all of the money that he would need to get that done. One point that I keep making as it relates to the Steelers and the salary cap is that Omar is yet to come close to pulling out all the stops. Why? Because he already had a ton of space entering this offseason, and he's yet to spend any of it on the most important and most expensive position, that, of course, being quarterback. The only quarterback he's paid to date is Mason Rudolph. So they were always going to spend, at least that was the intent or hope as it related to Justin Fields, somewhere in the neighborhood of, 15, 20 million, depending on who it was that you got. So that had to be in the theoretical bank entering free agency, entering the draft season, while also everybody else in the fold, all the way up to Rooney, is saying publicly, of course we're keeping TJ. Yes, we're keeping TJ. We want TJ here forever. Now, I don't know what could have moved him to put that picture out. Might just be impatience. Might be having heard something that he didn't like. I don't know. But this is the part where it goes a little too far. We just don't know. What I feel like I do know is that they're going to keep TJ, and they're going to do that regardless of what Rodgers decides. When we come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar.
Today's J1Q comes from Nate, who says, hey, DK, if the Steelers are planning that their future quarterback or franchise quarterback is coming in the 2026 NFL draft, do you think that could potentially buy Mike Tomlin another year or so? Meaning that if they draft the rookie then, he has a rough year, maybe even two, that could push him out. I almost feel trapped with this head coach. And I'm not saying he's bad coach, but the definition of stupidity is making the same choice over and over and expecting different results. I feel that's where my beloved franchise is. It's a really broad topic, Nate, and at the same time, at the root of it is a question that you didn't even ask. I don't like to do this to people, but as fair as that was, you remind me of a question I've been asking myself as it relates to the future quarterback and Tomlin's status. And that's this. If Tomlin is in fact the Lone Ranger voice because he's handsomely compensated, and he's the one who wants Aaron Rodgers, and others in the building maybe do not want Rodgers, at least not as much as he would, and they bring Rodgers in, and it's a disaster, and then he sticks by Rodgers unconditionally because that's just kind of what he does, and then that exacerbates the disaster, could there be anything at all that could cost Tomlin his job? If there's one thing Rodgers has succeeded at consistently in his later years, it's getting head coaches fired. That's not my joke. That's something I hear from you guys all the time, just repeating it. But it also comes based in fact. If this were to be yet another case where Tomlin had some other solution, short-term, long-term, prioritizing, as you say, the future over just another short-term fix for a problem that's now heading into its 6th or 7th year, and then the team goes out and embarrasses itself. I mean, for all these conversations that we have about whose fault is this, whose fault is that, you wouldn't have to be wondering about this one. There'd be no debate, and it wouldn't just be Tomlin's usual detractors. It would be everybody, because everybody would know what it was that occurred and why. Now, to finally get to your actual question, would Tomlin be the right guy to handle the future quarterback or the franchise quarterback, and would that buy him additional years. I just, if there isn't something extraordinary that takes place, Nate, he's not getting fired. I don't know how much clearer that could be at this point. Art Rooney's not going to fire Tomlin unless there was some end of the world event. And I guess one could make an argument that committing to a 42-year-old quarterback and then having that blow up in your face might qualify. On the other hand, 42-year-old quarterback comes in and absolutely kills it. Hey, here we go again, right? I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.